everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our Solutions for Life podcast. I'm Nicole Mozurkewich, and I am the Marketing Director here at Isabella Community Credit Union. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about auto loans and credit cards. I'm joined today by Brandi Woods, one of our financial solutions specialists. Brandi's been at ICCU for 7 years and started out as a part-time teller and has been with the Financial Solutions Department for a little over 2 years. Welcome, Brandi.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Brandi, you're our expert in the area of auto loans and credit cards, and the goal of our discussion today is to help our listener understand these financial tools better, and so they can make informed choices and feel confident about their financial journey in those areas. Before we dive in, Brandi, could you start by sharing a little bit about your role here at ICCU? What does a day in the life of Brandi look like for you?
Okay, so a day in the life of Brandi would be I generally start with online applications, so I do everything electronically. So any applications that come in overnight, I kind of go through them, figure out what questions need to be asked by the members so we can get them the correct loan product for them.
Mm-hmm. So let's start by defining what an auto loan is. Can you explain for our listeners how those auto loans work, maybe just the process about borrowing from ICCU?
I generally like to start talking to a member openly about their finances, looking into what's affordable for them, what makes sense for them, what loan product would make sense for them, on from there.
Okay. And so are there different types of loans for autos?
We have brand new auto loans, used auto loans, and older auto loans, which would be other secured.
So sometimes when people are looking for an auto loan, there's a lot of terms out there that are confusing, especially if you're a first-time buyer, right? If I go to the dealership, they're saying things I don't understand. So let's share with our listeners some definitions, like what's principal, what's interest, and a loan term. Can you define those for us?
To me, principal would mean how much you're financing for it, so the original loan amount.
Okay.
And that would include title and taxes and everything combined with that. Interest is what you would be paying on the life of the loan. So whatever you owe on that loan, that percentage is, you're paying that percent more on the loan.
And then loan terms, we have, with auto loans, I think there's a lot of different ones. What are those? What does that mean?
So we have our new auto loans, so those would be the brand new vehicles under 7,000 miles on them. Those generally come with a lower interest rate and you can get a longer term. You can go as far as 84 months.
Okay.
Then we have 2017 or newer with under 100,000 miles. And then we have older secure, which would be your older vehicles with a little higher mileage.
And then now down payment, I know that's important when you're talking about that. What do you guys recommend for down payment? What does that mean to our listeners?
Generally, with down payment, I like to start with how much a member can afford with payment. And then once we get to that, we discuss how much of a down payment would get them to the payment that they prefer.
Okay. That sounds good. And then there's trade-ins, right? So I have a car, it's 10 years old, I'm looking to get something else. What's that trade-in mean for our listeners?
So provided that the trade-in covers their current loan that they might have on that vehicle, whatever they trade in, whatever they get extra can go towards their new loan.
Okay. I'll go towards that principal that they have. Good,
yeah.
Good. I'm sure that's going to help a lot of people feel a little more confident and they know some definitions on some of that stuff. So let's talk a little bit about pre-approval. What does that mean? And do we recommend that our listeners come in and get pre-approved for an auto loan?
I do recommend that members come in and get pre-approval for auto loan. With that, we can, as long as the member's honest about finances, and I encourage members to be honest with us about finances, so we can get them into the perfect payment option for them. And then we can discuss the amount, the purchase price amount for their new vehicle.
Mm-hmm. So to get pre-approved, we have some forms on our website, right? So they can go in and in 90 seconds, they can fill out a form and it comes right to you?
It does.
It does. And then you take that form and then you work your magic on the back end, giving them phone calls. And So choosing the right loan is kind of important too, right? Our listeners need to consider balancing monthly payments with those loan terms like you talked about in consideration for refinancing. So let's talk a little bit about refinancing. What are our options at ICCU with refinancing?
Our options with refinancing with ICCU, bring us your vehicle information, how much you currently owe on it, and we can run numbers and figure out if we can get you a lower rate, lower payment option, see what's going to work best for that member.
That's awesome. That probably helps a lot of people out.
It does. It does. And I would be lying if I said I didn't utilize that at one point or another.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So that's been great information about auto loans, and we've got some good advice for our listeners. So let's kind of shift our focus a little bit and chat about something else that we kind of use on a pretty much daily basis, and that's credit cards, right? I don't know very many people, my friends and family, that don't have a credit card. So we're going to explore how credit cards work, different types of credit cards, and how to use them responsibly, right? Because there's a way that that tool can be used responsibly and people aren't going into debt. So let's just go right from the basic. Brandi, what is a credit card? What is that exactly?
A credit card is like unsecured debt, as in you'll be using that credit card for daily things such as gas or groceries, whatever is convenient for you, and then you're going to be paying that back. Now, I generally recommend that you pay back. You never charge up to 30% of your limit. That'll help you to build your credit.
So there's different types of credit card. Can you explain what those might be?
So we have our secured credit card. So I recommend this for our newer borrowers. This would be somebody 21, just getting their first credit card. You use your own funds towards that credit card, and you're technically paying yourself back, but in the meantime, you're building your credit.
And that's important today,
yes.
Having that credit score,
yes.
and being recognized with that. And balance transfers. We have a card that has balance transfers as well, right?
We do, and that comes with a little bit lower interest rate. It's convenient if you're paying higher interest with another card. You can transfer over to our credit card.
So many people hear terms like credit limit, APR, payments, interest charges. We're going to go to those definitions again. Let's try to explain to our listeners, what is APR? What does that mean?
An APR would be what the percentage you're paying on your credit card.
Okay. And then the minimum payment, you're recommending they don't do that, right? You're saying pay that balance off.
Correct.
Yeah, that helps build that credit better. So we've covered the basics of how those credit cards work and some key terms, but understanding is just the first step. So using a credit card responsibly is where I think you're kind of getting to, and that's real impact on a person's financial health. So what are some tips or advice that you have for building that credit using that credit card?
Tips for using that credit card: make sure you're paying more than the minimum payment on it. Make sure you're using it responsibly. Don't get it. So say you have a $1,000 limit. Try to keep it under the $300 mark. That'll keep you under 30%. And then make larger payments to it if you're able.
So say I am a member. What would we say to a member if we're talking about that credit utilization ratio?
The lower you have your credit card, the quicker your credit score will tend to build.
Okay. So you're using less, you're using it, but you're not using it to its full capacity. So
correct.
Using part of that. Okay. So we've talked about the ins and outs of managing auto loans, credit cards responsibly, but now let's bring it back home to how ICCU is here to support our members. That's really big, right? From helping our members hit the road with their flexible auto loans to having credit cards designed with low rates and great rewards. ICCU has a lot of options to fit needs, and I'm sure you talk with members all the time. Do you have a special case maybe that you talked about that you really helped someone out with an auto loan, a story that you'd like to share?
Well, actually a couple days ago, I had a member call in. They said that they had an issue with their well. Now, if we were to give them a loan for a well, that would be unsecured, so their interest rate would have been significantly higher. So in having conversations with the member, I discovered that they had a newer vehicle that had been paid off, and we actually used that as an auto equity to give them a much lower rate. Members happy because they can now get their new well, which is important.
Yep.
And they're getting a lower rate with a lower payment than they would have had before.
Gotcha. That's great. I mean, those stories are what we really build on here at ICCU. So it's always good to know that we're out there helping members in any way we can. So I love that you take a creative piece of that, somebody's well, but you figure out how to use an auto, right, to help them out. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about ICCU's auto loan and credit card offerings. What makes that stand out for our members?
In working with members, I do a little research, and I try to look at rates that other financial institutions have, and we're definitely comparable to others. We're willing to listen to our members and discover what's going to be the best option for them. They may call and ask, we want to do a credit card for this, and we discover that a completely different loan option works better for them.
Mm-hmm. And then credit cards, we focus on low rates. And tell us a little bit about the point structure that we have for our credit cards.
With our credit cards, we do offer rewards. So every time you use your card, depending on the time of month or what special that we have going on, you do earn rewards, and that can be used to purchase things on their website, or even cash back, which is definitely what I use.
Yeah, I know we have, 3 points on groceries, 2 points on gas, and then 1 point on every other purchase that you make. So I know we take advantage of that quite heavily because we have a lot. Gas is so expensive now. It's nice to get a little bit back after you're spending on those basic needs that you have. So, and then along the lines with that marketing, sometimes we market having some double points in some areas too. So places like Pet Day or Black Friday and Cyber Monday, we offer double the points on that, so you can really build on that. So if you're already shopping for Christmas, you can build on those, that point system. So that is a really good benefit for our members. So Brandi, how can some members avoid some common pitfalls that they find with like mounting interest and debt?
Making your payments on time. Sometimes it can be tricky. When you run into issues, don't just run out and get another loan. Keep trying to chip away at those payments, and eventually you'll get there. Like I said before, making sure you don't get over 30% utilization will keep you from having payments that you can't handle. Even if you do have to make minimum payments for a little bit, I still recommend sticking with that one credit card.
That 30%. So before we shift gears, let's talk a little bit about maybe one of your favorite stories about auto loans or something like that. Do you have a story that you could share with our listeners?
So I generally get excited about my younger members, the ones that I can explain things to. I get to know them. One of my members that sticks out, I had this young man call, nicest kid in the whole wide world. He did call and he wanted an auto loan. He didn't quite understand how everything works, so I got the opportunity to explain all of that to him. Come to find out, we ended up needing a co-signer, which would have been one of his parents, and they so nicely added themselves onto the application and did get on the loan with him. That member was extremely excited and so kind and generous, and it's just nice to be able to help people. Is I guess what I'm saying is when you get the loans where the person really deserves it and you want them to be happy and you can see them leaving your office happy.
Right, and we do have to follow rules, regulations, and some criteria, so when you can find a way and help that member, that makes it even better for everybody involved. Yeah. Awesome. But before we wrap up, Brandi, if you could leave our listeners with one key piece of advice when it comes to managing your auto loan and your credit cards, what would that be?
Honestly, I would recommend to our members to be completely honest with your loan officer. We're here to help you, and we're here to serve you in whatever needs you have. So being honest with us, we can figure out the best way to help you. Make those monthly payments. If you run into an issue, contact us immediately, and we're always happy to help you with set up automatic payments, anything that's going to work best for our member.
Good. I love that. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights today. I think it's very valuable to our listeners. We've run through a lot of information in a very short amount of time. So from understanding, the nuts and bolts of an auto loan and what factors to consider when you're breaking down how credit cards work, those definitions, the best way to use those responsibly. We also highlighted how ICCU's offerings are tailored to help our members. That's what we're here for, is for them. We want to help them achieve their financial goals and give them that flexible auto loan or that credit card that's best for them. So if today's conversation sparked any questions or ideas, we would love to hear from you. So connect with us on our website at iccuonline.com. Or find us on social media on Facebook and Instagram and share your thoughts. Or just reach out to our local ICCU branch about more of the tools and resources we have for auto loans and credit cards. So thanks to our listeners for tuning in to our Auto Loans and Credit Card podcast. Have a great day.